And good morning, Fiona here from Core Confidence, and just back from a wonderful time in Europe and looking forward to connecting with Kate and just thinking about some of the things that we're noticing and seeing in organisations at the moment. A lot of restructures going on, a lot of uncertainty for people. So we're really curious about when there's a lot of uncertainty in their world and they're thinking about what's my next step. Morning, Kate.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well.
I was just saying, who can think it's the middle of June? I think we'll be talking Christmas before we know it. It just seems to be, it seems to be a weird point. You mentioned restructures. Got a lot of clients going through those at the moment, a lot of clients interviewing for roles. There seems to be, here in New South Wales, we had, a consistent government, but quite a lot of integration and reform going on there. So lots of change across a lot of sectors at the moment that I think, and you've got end of financial year as well. So often if there's roles that are on hold, the new financial year, new budgets kind of start fresh. I think there's always a lovely piece in the middle of the year, a little bit like New Year's Day, where we almost get to kind of reset. Except it's freezing cold, obviously. But we get to reset and go, where am I at? And I've been going around doing Showcase, which is a one-day career workshop that we do, doing Sydney on Saturday. But some really interesting conversations, I think, with regards to where people are at and what they want to achieve for the second half of the year.
Well, I think that's exciting. And I think, as you said, it is a chance to reset. It's a chance to think about, okay, so strangely and excitedly, we're already halfway through the year, but what is it I want to see for myself? Where do I want to be? As we head into the end of the year, what do I want to look back on and go, okay, since June, this is what I've done. So I think there is some nice things that people can be thinking about as we, take on the second half of the year.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you because I think something that's really worth talking about, given we are halfway through the year, is this concept called ambition burnout. And it really ties well into the concept of clarity that we've been talking about for, pretty much non-stop since we released the Women at Work research. And really this piece, and I read an article yesterday and shared it, but this piece around, I'm working really, really hard, but I'm not sure why. So this lack of purpose or lack of connection. And I think, certainly it was my career experience early on, that first decade of my career, knew I wanted to progress, knew I wanted to get quite senior, but probably hadn't done my research to figure out exactly, to align the expectations of what that was going to feel like when I got there. And so what tends to happen is we kind of set our sights on a goal and we arrive there, and the felt experience possibly of the success is very different to the imagined experience, which is, I think, a function of two things. When you've been imagining something for so long, it's very rare that it ever meets your expectations. But secondly, I think sometimes those imagined expectations are not really based on real information.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point, and certainly in the coaching we do and conversations, actually I would say with both men and women, there's often quite a big gap there, that I've been going after something, I've been working hard, and actually, is this really what I want, or is this what I thought it was going to be? Is this living up to my expectations? And unfortunately for a lot of people, because we don't necessarily get told or encouraged to think about what is that purpose piece, what is it that I want to contribute, and I think that's that's where we're sort of heading into some of the stuff we want to talk about today. This piece about contribution, I think, so sometimes purpose feels like a really big piece, and we're not necessarily at the point of being able to define that really clearly. And yet, if you start with the thing of what can I contribute, that often leads into, what my purpose is and what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think people always think purpose is going to fall out of the sky. Or, all of a sudden someone will offer me my dream job that will feel purposeful. And you know, we know there's work to be done to uncover what is purposeful for you, because it's different. And also, you know, what might be purposeful for you today might be different to what it is in 2 years' time. I think the concern I have with something like ambition burnout, which is pretty much work really, really hard, arrive at a destination, go, this is crap, throw, and then literally make a, you know, blow your world up decision, like we sometimes joke, which is sell the house and move to some foreign Guatemala country or something like that. But, you know, people do make those sort of life changing or world exploding decisions. I think the challenge is that, you know, or they quit their job and they start their own small business. And sometimes, again, the beliefs and the reasons that they think or what they think they will get by making that decision often don't arrive. So I think there's this piece around, you know, there's work to be done. The more that I spend time with the accelerators, the more that I see a few things. Number one, and this is a general comment about them, but also I'd say most of our professional population, very few have clear career plans. So very few actually know where they want to head. In fact, you know, our Women at Work research showed us that, you know, that I think it's less than 14% are really clear about what they want. And when I say that, like really clear, not, oh, I have an idea. But, you know, less than 40% are really clear. And that's true. You know, you sit on panel discussions and people talk about career plans. Most people will say, oh, I didn't really have a plan. I got approached for a role. It aligned with what I wanted. And so I took the opportunity. And so the moves are more opportunistic rather than planned. Or I've had enough and I've gone to market and I've started looking. I think they're the two common scenarios around what is it that drives people to move roles. Very rarely is it, okay, you know, as part of my plan, I said I'd be in this role for 2 years and then I'd start looking at options and I've got 6 months. And, you know, we're not saying it needs to be extremely fixed and not flexible, but I think this concept of, you know, I always liken it to, you know, when you go on a holiday, and, you know this well, you kind of want to know what continent, what country you want to land up in. Rather than I'm just heading overseas. And so that you can actually craft your experience a little bit more. And I think you can liken career a little bit to that.
Yes, I think, as you say, it needs to have a degree of flexibility, and it needs to have, you know, we need to have something in mind, and we need to have, you know, a good reason for wanting to be in that place and to be, you know, contributing and to be part of an organisation or part of an industry at least, you know, in terms of what is it that I want to do. And you know, it's tempting to stay vague for lots of reasons, and we have talked a bit about this. And you know and that we've also seen doesn't necessarily pan out all that well for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really good call to action for everyone. You know, in the book, it's chapter 1, get clear, and it's career values. And you know, it never ceases to amaze me how powerful that process is for people. I mean, we get lots of feedback from people who have read the book, who have gone in and made big decisions around, you know, their current roles. Lots of great feedback for clients. Just worked with a client this week, and that process helped, number one, get clear about the fact that she needed to leave an employer, which was a really hard decision because she'd invested a lot in that employer, and the reality was that she wasn't getting enough back, so they weren't in good exchange. But actually, interestingly, the decision to leave was tough because it was actually admitting that, and that was really difficult emotionally because I've invested so much and it hasn't been reciprocated. So I think just that the piece around helping make that decision, but even more perfect for her, was very quickly within a week she was interviewing and offered a role, and you know, being able to assess that role against her values and see it line up so incredibly perfectly. It was unbelievable. Very rare that you get that experience in the first, you know, in the first week of job hunting, let alone the first month of job hunting. But, you know, and so two things, gave her great certainty around the decision and confidence around the decision to go, and then great certainty around the decision to take this role, particularly when it was early on in the job hunting cycle as well. So I think, you know, taking some time to get clear about what's important to you. If you've got those values, you know, keeping them really top of mind. With clients in Accelerate, we always get them to get a visual done and hold them so that they're committed to mind, and they can use those values to really craft their daily workplace experience. But really just, you know, looking at what's most important to me, where am I heading in the next 6 months? Most importantly, what am I doing to influence where I'm heading? I think too many people are on autopilot. It's really easy to look up from your computer in 3 years' time and go, goodness me, how did I get here?
Yes, yes. So many good tips there and important things to be across. We've both been back in Core Confidence, you looking at the audio book, me looking at the ebook, and there's just, you know, even though we wrote it ourselves, it's kind of been delightful to be reminded of all the good tips in there, all the good processes, all the good ways to just reconnect with what is important with you. And as you say, to get some clarity in order to make some good choices. That default setting, that just going along, and often, you know, we call it misplaced loyalty, where I'm just staying there because I feel like, you know, I should, or, you know, I've got something that I owe. Lots of reasons why people stay too long, and that's not good for you, but it's not necessarily good for the organisation either. And I think that's something, you know, we have a conversation both with, you know, the organisations. You know, have you got people who, you know, are staying too long for all sorts of reasons, and the same for people who are there. You know, when is my season done in this organisation is a really good conversation for everyone to be thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we might leave it there. Next month is July, and we are jumping. Our theme for July is excuse-free living. So that one's going to be very exciting. Lots of fun for us to have on that one. Good to see you, Fee. Have a great day. And as always, guys, if you've got questions for us, please either pop them in the comments below. If you've got a theme that you want us to talk about on a Facebook Live, pop it there as well. And of course, if you don't have a copy of the book, jump onto the website. You can download a free chapter and, of course, get your copy there as well. Thanks, guys. See you, Fee.
Thanks, Kate. Bye.